You ever hear these people talking about living your best life, and then you're like, geez, I'm not doing that. I wish I could live my best life. Well, you're in luck because today's episode we were talking about is it important to live your best life? This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy? I do wonder because I always hear people that live your best life, blah blah blah. Like, I was wondering like what they mean by that. Because I don't know. It's it's just like a catchphrase. What is it? Like, do
It's
they mean
virtue
like
signaling.
authentically? Yeah,
It's
like do
virtue
they?
signaling. It's like I'm living a better life than you are
Yeah, I
because
think that's
you're
probably
just
me.
living your life, but I'm living my best
The
life.
best possible life in the best
Yeah.
possible world.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's that kind of
Well,
logic.
that's the crazy thing is that you don't actually have any choice because the life that you live is literally the only
This is
life you
it.
get. Like you can't I mean you literally can't go another direction than where you are right now.
Well, that's why I always liked that idea of amor fati that the Stoics talk about,
Yeah.
Nietzsche talks about the idea of loving one's fate. Because it's like, you don't have a choice. Like that's the interesting thing is like we have no choice where we're born, what time, who our parents are, where we live, and none of that. And so it's like you kind of like by the time we're conscious, we already have sort of a life and a place. And it's like, so how do you like come to terms with that and like learn to love the life that you have? I think is a really interesting idea.
That's a great point. And like I've been thinking about that a lot recently because it's like people act as if you can change, but you look at people for long enough and it's like people really don't change. Like they try and they can alter some things for a little bit, but pretty much people are who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can like that's the yeah, I think we can change like our perspective and we can change like, if we're I think you see more dramatic changes when people are like when they're not like making their own choices. When they're like everybody else is making choices for them and then they realize that and then start to make then you'll see like changes,
Or
but
when
it's
they have a
still
life-threatening illness.
yeah, something
That's
like
another
that too.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of sad when you think about it, that we need like a life-threatening illness to like smack us in the face and make us realize like, oh shit, we only have X number of time left. And
Hmm.
you don't want to
Well, I
wait for
mean, we
that.
do. We
Yeah.
do. But then again, does it actually matter?
I
Because
mean, no.
for the most history of time, we haven't lived.
You
Like
know what?
for the briefest blip in the universe,
We're
in the
alive.
timeline of the universe, we're alive, and the rest of the time we're not. So it's
Well,
like, why does this aliveness matter that much?
that's sort of the weird like that is the weird conundrum, right? Which is like from a like sort of an abstracted point of view, our lives don't matter. They really don't. Like at the end of the day, they don't. Like, I mean, because look, eventually the sun's gonna blow up and all this crap's gonna be gone and none of it will be
Yeah, and you
matter,
could
right?
have your worst day ever, and the sun still rises,
Yeah.
and the leaves still blow in the
The rest of
wind,
the
and
world
all
still
that
goes
stuff.
on, the planets still
Yeah,
go around, whatever. But on
yeah,
the other side of it, it's interesting because it's like the only perspective we have is our own perspective as a subject. And so
uh-huh.
it feels really important because it is you. It's like very hard to, I think, to separate that sometimes and like think of it as, what it actually is valued at. But also too, like, which perspective is right? Is it right to say that it's meaningless because eventually none of this is going to be here and it's not going to matter? I mean, I don't know. Is it right to say that it matters a lot? Because I have no idea. It's hard to kind of
Yeah,
evaluate that as well.
yeah. I'll tell you in my next life. Which
I
one
lean
was the
on the
right
fence.
answer?
I lean on the fence if I don't know anything. I feel like that's easier because it's probably
Hmm.
true.
Yeah. You know what? I was thinking about it the past couple days. I was like imagining myself on my deathbed, however long in the future that is, looking back now, because like even though I'm doing a lot of stuff that I enjoy right now, there's still problems. Like in life, there's always problems.
Yeah.
And so like I was imagining myself on my deathbed, looking back at the time that I'm living right now, and being like, what would I actually want to tell myself right now? And the thing that I got from it was just enjoy it more. Like you're doing the stuff that you love. Of course, problems are going to be there. And it's just like, I guess that's kind of the thing about living your best life because it is like, I mean, you can live whatever you want, but you have to actually live it.
Well, it's
It's
funny, and yeah, you have to live it. There's still going to
because I
be
keep
problems.
imagining I'll get to some place where it exists without problems.
That's the biggest issue, though. I think most people, when they think of like these concepts like best life and stuff, if you really push them, they're thinking of these like mythical times when like they're happy and there's no problems and like and they don't have to do anything. And it's like, but that's not life. Like there's going to be problems. And even if you're doing exactly what you want to do, you're still going to have to fight taking it for granted because you're still going to take it for granted at points. You're still going to not be present. Like there's all these things that are still going to happen that are going to actually like diminish the value of it. Unless you have to actively stay on top of yourself. It's funny you said it too, because I just reading something the other day, there's scientists that they were like it was talking about working out and stuff, and like most people find it so difficult and like hate it, and like and they were saying, it's funny, like you can actually like make yourself enjoy it more by just telling yourself it's fun. And like like by kind of like, tricking yourself in a sense, but like telling
Hmm.
yourself you enjoy this. And like it's funny because I think a lot of times that's we have to kind of like remind ourselves to be present and to enjoy what we're
Hmm.
doing, that we wanted these things. Because it's everything is, everything takes work, and it is going to be problems. We have to kind of be
Yeah,
on top of ourselves.
it's very easy for stuff to become an obligation,
Yeah.
and then it's not enjoyable, you know? But with exercising, I kind of get that because there were times in my life when I didn't exercise, but like nowadays it's like there's so many different ways to exercise. You could
Yeah.
literally do like a million different things, and it's just like if you can't find anything that's
Well, that was
more
part of their
attractive than
point.
watching TV,
Well, that was
you
part of
know?
their point too, is like finding ways to make it enjoyable and fun, right? Like so telling yourself you get to do this, that's awesome, right? But also like trying different things till you find the method that works for you too. Because some people like riding bikes, some like jogging, whatever.
Yeah, so like right now I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum where I need to focus more on like recovery and stuff like that because I do enjoy a lot of these activities. And so kind
You're
of
getting
I
older
was
is
mess
rough, isn't it? It takes so much
dude,
longer to
it is.
recover, dude.
It
God.
is. And so like, one of the things that's recommended is deload weeks, where like every 6 or 8 weeks you just take a week of like lower intensity,
Oh,
that type
that
of stuff. And
makes
I was like,
sense.
okay, yeah, that's cool. Like I can take a week off at that time. And it's like I was doing this with ChatGPT and it was like, make sure that like you do something that day, like go for a walk or a light swim or something. And I was like, who the hell takes a day off and like literally doesn't do anything, like doesn't even get up
I
from
was gonna lay in a
it?
kiddie pool full of pudding. Like,
Yeah.
what the
Oh
fuck?
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Doesn't
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
God.
But
Well,
but
though,
anyways,
I do want to
it's
add that
good
because
for
a
me.
lot of people don't move, I don't think, that much because
Hmm.
it's easy to.
Probably.
Anyway, back on topic.
Yeah, probably. So living your best life, does that exist, first off?
That's the thing. I don't know.
Well, okay,
It's
so
hard to say.
I would say like a better life. You can live a better life. Like for instance, you and I would probably both agree we're living better lives now than we were when we were doing stuff 5, 10 years ago that we didn't enjoy.
Yeah, yeah,
I know for
totally.
a
Yes,
fact I
yes.
am.
Yeah,
I'm living a
absolutely. I'm
better
on
life.
board.
But
I'm on
like
board. Yeah.
But like by definition, the best life has to be the optimal one. And that, how could
Well,
you actually know that you're doing it?
here's this. It's that maybe it's also the terminology because we always use these like grandiose terms for everything. And like if you think about like what best implies, like it's like the concept of like, that this is the best possible world. We don't know that. How the hell could we know that? There's no way to
Hmm.
know. But the fact is it's the only one that we have
Hmm.
and we have access to. So like maybe thinking of it like that is like this is the only life you have. This is the only one you have access to. So how can you live in a way or think about it in a way that makes it, you know, the best it can be for you, I guess, would be like the way to say it. But like, yeah, I hate those
And
terms because it's always
and
like,
actually along those lines, what you're saying there, if this is our only life, it would theoretically be our best life. So maybe the emphasis on that phrase, living your best life, the emphasis isn't on best life, but the emphasis is on living.
yeah, right? Like living, being present, doing things like,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's
then you
like,
actually kind of need to be present in order to be living your best
well,
life.
and that's where it's hard, right? Because this is where the existentialists like talk about that anxiety and dread of like choice making, right? Because when you realize you only have this one life, your choices are really important, right? Because what you choose to do, that's like how you're choosing to spend your time and live. So it's like making those choices correctly is really important, and you're responsible either way. So figuring out like, I don't know, what really matters to you, what obligations are really important, what values are important to you. It's a good place to start to help yourself start making these decisions and getting it right, I guess. But it
Hmm.
takes time too, and I think it's hard to, you know what I hate? Because like I was like, we were talking, we have like our reading group, we look at books. And I remember I was looking at books on Amazon, like that would work. And I saw these self-help books, and I'm looking at the authors, dude. And like one was like this like 28-year-old kid, and I was like this 31-year-old, like I just like sharing wisdom and blah. And I'm like, dude, you're like kind of too young, and I don't mean this to be mean, because I thought the same way when I was like that age. But like
Uh-huh.
really like when you're like 18, 19, 20, you're
You haven't
not
had enough bad shit happen to you to have
you haven't
wisdom.
had enough experience. You don't even know. Like you haven't even started to question like the things that you were taught when you were young yet. You know what I mean? Like you're not even there yet. So it's kind of funny too that like I think a lot of times we hear these things said and it's by people who are like it's like almost like they're play acting rather than like seriously considering these things or living it. And
Hmm.
that I think is also kind of we have to be careful about.
Yeah. It is a shame that we don't have like philosopher kings anymore. Like back in the day, the elders used to be the wise people and people would listen to the elders. But nowadays it's
Well, dude,
pop culture is the youngins.
what was it? Was it I can't remember now. Was it Zeno or Epictetus that was a slave?
Yeah, Xena the Princess Warrior.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Lucy Lawless, yeah, I think that was the one.
Oh my God, I haven't seen that show in forever. That was a good
I
show.
know, right?
Warrior
And there was
Princess.
what was the other one? Conan? No,
Conan,
it
it was
was it
Conan.
Conan? I don't
Wait,
know. With
no.
Bruce
What?
Campbell? I
He
don't
was in that.
remember.
He was in both of them. He had parts
Was
in
it?
both of them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a
Or was it
fun
Hercules?
time.
Hercules. Hercules.
Hercules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Anyway, um,
So what
but
was the question?
anyway,
Who
one
was
of the Stoics was a slave before he became a Stoic. I can't remember
oh,
who.
okay.
It might have been
Yeah, I
no,
don't
it was
know. Could
Epictetus.
have
It was
been.
Epictetus. Anyway,
Okay.
but I was gonna say he was a slave. I mean, then later in his life when he was a Stoic, like Roman emperors would come to him for advice. Like that's kind of crazy. Like, he had this old guy living by himself. Like, we don't do
Hmm.
that anymore. We don't have like because we don't really respect wisdom in that sense anymore either. Because I think information is so widely available that's like you don't need that.
Maybe.
You can get anything you want online all the time. It's not like we have to rely on a guy in a cave, to get that knowledge from
Yeah.
kind of. But you also have to seek it out and actually engage with it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, true. So then, hmm.
I don't, I
Does
always
it
think.
the other part of the question, go for it.
No, go. What were you gonna say?
Uh, the other part of the question was, does it even matter to try and live some type of best life or optimal life?
I mean, in grand scheme of things, I guess no. But like in the sense of like your life, I mean, I would say yeah, because you got to deal with
Well,
it still through the
okay.
process.
Well, here's the question. So like I think that it was because I made these choices and whatever that my life improved. But what if that's not actually true? What if like I never, it's the whole free will thing. Like what if I didn't do that? What was that? What if that was just in my cards anyways? And if I would have just waited long enough, it would have happened anyways.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think because like, look, the question of free will is tough. But like, I think even if you don't have free will, there is still the potential for even if we don't have true freedom, I guess I should say, there's still compatibility. Like it's choosing what would have happened anyway is still more powerful than not. Do you know what I mean? Like, so living in that way
Mhm.
where you're aligned correctly with like your values and what you want, that you're choosing things that were, even if it was determined, if you would have chosen it anyway, that's better because that means
Yeah.
you're actively sort of affirming it, right? In
Yeah.
that process.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's all about kind of like alignment, it's like getting in the flow of the river that you want to
Well,
be
it's like,
in.
yeah, like the Taoists, right? Living in sync with with the flow of the universe. Or like I always like
Mhm.
how kind of like Nietzsche talks about where it's like, authenticity is like when you're choosing things that are so aligned with you, it's like you're not even choosing at all because it's like it's right for you, right? Like there would be no other choice besides that one.
Mhm.
And I try to think that way sometimes of like what is in a situation where I have choices to make, like which one is like the one that like is absolutely right. Like there's no other the other ones just clearly aren't because this aligns so perfectly with me. And it's not always clear, I think, and it's hard, but it helps us
What
kind of
what's it
reflect more on it, on what
What's it
matters.
like for you to find that stuff? Because I can kind of look at areas because for me it takes like a lot of experimentation. Like I do a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff just falls flat and it sucks. But then all of a sudden I'll do something and it's just like, oh my gosh, like where have you been?
Well, yeah,
And so,
it just feels right, right? Like there's
mhm,
no I think that's my feeling too, is like usually when I find what's right, it feels easy. Not in the sense that it's easy, but like
mhm,
the choice feels easy and doing it
mhm,
feels easy even when it's
yeah,
hard. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have the
mhm,
motivation's there. It's easy to do it. Like and I think yeah, it's tough though because that idea of experimentation, like Nietzsche talked about that. Like we have to try on a lot of different perspectives. We have to like try things to figure out what's right because we don't know until
and
we do it.
it's very for me it's very frustrating to try stuff, especially when you're on like a dry spell and you're just like trying and trying and trying and nothing stinks or nothing is good, it all stinks, and it's just like,
Yeah.
man, is
Yeah, it can be a
anything
little
ever
bit
gonna,
like disheartening
yeah.
at times, right?
Mm,
Yeah, I don't know. It is tough though because we have to try things. And I think the other thing is too, like, think about how often people and us included, right? Like, we tend to we have all these biases and preformed judgments, right? So
hmm
we don't do things simply because we think we won't like it and stuff, and we've never even done it before. So I think also
mm,
like examining that, like how much stuff are we like not doing just because like we have all these preformed judgments and where did they come from if we've never done
mm,
it, right? Ask
yeah,
yourself those kind of questions and help kind of get to the bottom of it as well of like,
that's a
are
good
you actually
question.
living your own life?
Mm. You know, kind of as an aside, not really related to this, just a
Okay,
little bit,
whatever.
but I'm curious, how far into a book will you read before you just say this isn't for me? I'm struggling with that because like, you know, here's so like I read books and I'll get like 10% in and I'm just like it's not grabbing me. I know book I mean there are books like the one we were just discussing where like it grabs you immediately and it's just like
Yeah,
eating candy, you know?
yeah.
And but like other books are just kind of like and I get stuck at like the 10% level where I feel like I didn't really invest enough in reading this book, but it's just not catching me.
Oh,
And so I asked
usually,
ChatGPT, it said 25%, but I'm curious, what do you think?
if it's like, if I'm looking for books like for just to like to read,
For
like if,
pleasure. Yeah.
yeah, if the sample on Kindle doesn't do it for me, I don't even bother. It's not even worth my time. Because look, it doesn't matter. Like, forget the story too. Like, if I don't like something about even the writing and stuff in the first time, I just won't do it. Because it's like, why? There's so many others.
hmm
There's
hmm
plenty of others to choose from. So if it's not going to engage, then there's probably going to be other stuff I don't like in it too. Like, if it doesn't catch me and like intrigue me, at least in that first, and it's not hard too, because I read a lot, so I'm usually pretty interested in stuff anyway. But the only things I would say, like, where I'll give it more time is like if I'm reading philosophy or like science or biography, a lot of times I will give it more time just because like those I think like it takes more thinking. So like, and it's like I still might, even though I might not agree with the person, I still might want to read it. So it's a
hmm
different type of reading. But when I'm reading for fun, yeah, that 10% is totally enough.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I totally put down series, dude, that I was like almost finished just because I like the last book I didn't like. Yeah.
Dude, I know the freaking Brandon Sanderson
Yeah,
one.
exactly. That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
dude, I tried reading that last book like two or three times and it just couldn't, like,
Nope.
couldn't.
Couldn't do it, dude. It was
Yeah.
just too freaking long.
But it's like one of those things where you want to complete it and
Yeah. Well,
just
that's getting
can't.
back to the best life thing there, right? Is like what are you forcing yourself to do that maybe isn't even necessary? Because like, and this is the hardest thing about people, right? Is like we take things for granted. We don't really know what we would like or want. We're hardly ever freaking present. And I think we're very
Mm,
rarely even self-aware. Like, so like kind of practicing that can be really helpful is like being more aware, trying to be more present, trying to pay attention to what we're doing rather than constantly being in the future or the past, you know?
mm,
And that I think can get us a lot quicker to the place of being better off in the life that we have.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that it is that thing trying to figure out and but it's challenging because like at least for me, I'll do stuff even though it doesn't align with me perfectly because I want to have something there. You know, like I don't want to have like the emptiness of not having something there. You know, so I'll do something that's not perfectly filling, but just because I have the time or the whatever. Whereas instead of just focusing on doing stuff that I'm really enthusiastic about and then the rest, just letting the rest of the stuff go.
I mean, look, if you're like learning and stuff, you need breaks sometimes too. But like,
Hmm.
finding hobbies that you really enjoy and stuff is always good for those times too and all. And like, and trying
Yeah,
new things. You're not gonna like every new thing you try either. I mean, that's just life, right?
true. Yeah, that's
But
for
you don't
sure.
know until you try.
Yeah. So did we answer everything about is it important to live your best life?
No idea. I mean, it's a tough one.
Is it important to live your best life? Okay, so like
Oh, on the important side,
yes or no, and defend your answer. Is it important to live your best life?
um, well, can I answer both? I say no from the broad perspective. Well, in the sense that nothing matters anyway, no. But on the from the standpoint of myself as a subject, yes. And I think it is because I think, look, this is all we have. Dude, whatever your
Hmm.
life is, this is what you get. And and yes, there's chance and a lot of stuff that you didn't make choices about, and that is what it is. But it's like you just have to face the fact that this is the world and this is what you have. So make the best of it because you only get this one chance. And it's kind of crazy that we are conscious and aware. And like
Yeah.
and your best life doesn't have to be traveling all over and all this crazy crap you see online. It could be spending a lot of time with your loved ones. It could be doing a lot, whatever, just doing
Hmm.
hobbies and stuff you enjoy. It doesn't have to be this crazy thing, but I think paying more attention and being more aware and trying to be present, I think will always improve your life. So
Hmm.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you there, where I think in general, is it important to live your best life? No, because really all you can ever do is live the life you have.
Yeah.
But that being said, my life has gotten drastically better since I made an effort to improve it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to the point too, right? Like I know in your situation and mine as well, like a lot of that effort was also recognizing like the obligations that were coming from outside sources and realizing they weren't obligations that were right for us anymore and that they weren't our
Hmm.
own, that we chose. And I think that's the important, like, what are you choosing and what's being kind of forced on you is a big way to kind of get there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There we go. So don't live someone else's best life.
Nope.
Yeah.
Screw them.
All right. Well, there you go. That's it for this episode. We have hundreds more wherever you find your podcast or also on YouTube. You can see our pretty faces. Until next time, I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Eddie.